Good morning from the National Weather Service office in Lake Charles, Louisiana. I'm meteorologist Donald Jones with your Wednesday morning update on the ongoing flooding across the region. We saw quite a bit of rainfall across the region yesterday and last night. That was expected, and unfortunately we are going to be looking at another round of rain this morning that's already ongoing across parts of coastal portions of Texas and Louisiana. That is going to, I think, move inland for a period of time, mainly during the morning hours. I think by this afternoon we get some of that activity out of here. There still will be a few showers and thunderstorms around during the afternoon, but not quite as widespread as what we saw yesterday. That said, we are still looking at the potential for a couple of more inches of rain, up to possibly 5 inches of rain in some locations today. Now, that's going to be in addition to the rain that's already fallen yesterday and last night. So areas that have already seen flooding are going to be at risk of seeing additional flooding as we go through, especially the morning this morning, but pretty much through the whole day. And we're still going to be looking at some more rain expected tomorrow as well. So this is an ongoing situation. It's not something that's over and done with at this point. It's something that we are going to continue to deal with through the day today and through most of the day tomorrow. As always, this is a live interactive briefing, so if you have any questions as we go through our briefing, feel free to post them in our comment section. I see a couple of people already have, and I'll be happy to answer them just as soon as I'm done with the briefing here. I've got a couple of people saying that the broadcast is skipping in and out. I do apologize for that if you are experiencing that. Unfortunately, it seems like we're having some internet issues here at our office this morning, so we'll have to try to do the best we can with that. Let's go ahead and jump into our briefing, though. Again, we've got an area of low pressure that's going to be moving up the Gulf Coast here this morning. That's going to continue to provide a fair bit of rainfall. I'll try to pull up the radar here for you in just a minute and kind of show you what's going on here. But we're looking at anywhere between about 2 and 5 additional inches of rain expected today. This is mainly going to be along and south of the Highway 190 corridor, areas up towards central Louisiana. You're not going to see nearly as much today as we saw yesterday. Interior parts of southeast Texas the same way. I'll show you the forecast here for the rainfall totals here in just a second. And the forecast, the severe weather risk has also come down significantly, and that's certainly some good news compared to where it was yesterday. We are looking at a marginal risk for severe weather across the region, both today and tomorrow, but that's only going to be for maybe 1 or 2 storms. We're not going to be looking at the kind of severe weather that we saw yesterday with any storms that developed here today. Let me go ahead and jump forward here, if this will work for me. So we do still have a flood watch that's in effect here. Let me go ahead and make this full screen for you so we can take a look at it. This has actually been tapered back a little bit here this morning. So, excuse me, Tyler and Hardin counties, as well as northern parts of Jasper and Newton counties, are no longer in the flood watch, as we're not expecting significant rainfall that far to the north and west. And you'll see when I show you the forecast rainfall totals here in just a second exactly what I'm talking about. That's not to say you won't see a few showers here and there today and tomorrow, but not expecting additional flooding up that way. For the rest of the area, though, we do still have a flood watch in effect for today, and this will likely go into most of the day tomorrow as well, as we are going to be looking at rain both days. This is a look at our excessive rainfall outlook. This is essentially the probabilities of seeing flooding as we go through the day today. You see the highest risk, the area is highlighted in red there, essentially extends from Lafayette down towards New Iberia. Most of the rest of the region is either in that marginal or slight risk. So we're looking at the yellow there. That'll include the Lake Charles area, over towards Jennings, up towards Opelousas. That's a 15 to 39% chance of seeing flash flooding. The areas in red, a 40 to 69% chance of seeing flash flooding. You can see that extends into parts of southeast Louisiana as well, along the southern side of Lake Pontchartrain. Further to north, you see there's a pretty sharp gradient here with much lower probabilities for flash flooding once we get north of, say, about Oberlin, Oakdale, those areas. So portions of central Louisiana, Vernon Parish, Rapides, Avoyelles, you're looking at a low overall risk for flooding today, with some areas seeing less than a 5% chance of seeing flooding up that way. So the bigger overall risk for flooding today is going to be closer to the coast. Essentially, the closer you are to the coastline, the higher the overall risk is going to be for flooding. As we go into Thursday, the greater flash flood risk actually shifts a little bit further to the east over towards southeast Louisiana, but we are still looking at a low-end risk for some flooding across especially parts of Acadiana, essentially from, say, about Jennings or thereabout eastward towards Lafayette, New Iberia, up towards Opelousas, and at least parts of Avoyelles Parish as well. This is a look at the forecast rainfall totals for today and tomorrow. What's important to keep in mind when we're looking at this is in addition to rain that has already fallen. So this doesn't include the rain that fell yesterday or last night. This is going to be essentially from now forward through Thursday night. So we're looking at anywhere between 2 to 6 inches of rain. You can see there's a very sharp gradient there, though. Essentially, once you get about 10, 15 miles or so north of I-10, where you see a significant drop-off in terms of forecast rainfall totals, anywhere from as little as 1/10 of an inch up across central Louisiana, but generally looking at between about 1/4 of an inch to upwards of an inch across parts of central Louisiana. Closer to the coast, along and south of the I-10 corridor, you see those numbers are much higher, roughly about 1 inch to as much as 5 to 6 inches across parts of south central Louisiana. Unfortunately, these are areas that have already been very hard hit with several inches of rain, even across Calcasieu Parish. Looking at their Mesonet rain gauges this morning, we were looking at anywhere between about 3 to as much as 8 inches of rain just across Calcasieu Parish. That's pretty similar across much of southwestern and south central Louisiana, with some areas seeing as much as 8 inches of rain, but a lot of people having already seen at least 3 to 5 inches of rain. And this is going to be in addition to that, mainly as we go through the morning this morning. So if you've already experienced flooding, if you're experiencing flooding right now in these areas, this could potentially exacerbate that situation between now and kind of say early to mid-afternoon this afternoon. As far as timing, this is a look at our probability of precipitation every 3 hours. You can see for our Louisiana cities here to start. We're going to be looking at the highest probabilities of rain today, roughly from now through about 6 p.m. or thereabouts. You can see the chances of rain get a little bit lower as we go into the late afternoon and evening hours. We are going to be looking at pretty high rain chances again, though. You can see early Thursday morning through kind of mid-afternoon. So between about 3 a.m.-ish and about 6 p.m., we'll be looking at scattered to widespread showers and thunderstorms continuing on Thursday. And even as we get into Friday, we're still looking at some pretty decent rain chances. It's not going to be an all-day thing, but there are going to be some showers and thunderstorms around during the afternoon. Here's a look at the probabilities for the Texas cities. Again, we're looking at a similar situation continuing this morning. You can see a little bit lower, actually, kind of from about noon through about 3 or 4 p.m. We're looking at about a 30 to 40% chance of rain. Then after 9 o'clock this evening, that really kind of ramps down to only about a 20 to 30% chance. Going into tomorrow, though, you can see we're looking at roughly about a 40 to 60% chance from about 3 a.m. through about 6 p.m. tomorrow evening. I mentioned that we are looking still at a low-end severe weather risk, and this is mainly just going to be for 1 or 2 storms. This is not going to be a significant threat. This is not going to be a widespread threat, but there is a risk that a few of these storms could be on the stronger side. We've seen that already here this morning, where a few storms have probably been dropping some small hail. Now, it hasn't been enough to warrant a severe thunderstorm warning. That hail has probably been more like pea to maybe marble size. So that's considered sub-severe. You can get hail without it actually being severe. And there may be some of that here this morning, but there is a chance that 1 or 2 of those storms does reach those severe limits. Probably going to be large hail more than anything else. The risk for tornadoes, extremely small. We're talking about less than a 2% chance for tornadoes. You can see the probabilities of damaging winds here this morning, pretty much everywhere except for, say, the northern parts of Vernon, Rapides parishes, and the northern tips of Tyler, Jasper, and Newton counties. So 5 to 14% chance of seeing 60-mile-an-hour or greater winds within 25 miles of effectively any location that's highlighted in the brown. So that's pretty much everywhere, with the exception of those portions of those parishes and counties that I just listed there. Looking at the large hail threat, again, we're looking at a 5 to 14% chance. The higher risk is going to be closer to the coastline, where those more significant storms are expected to be, but we could still see some large hail potentially across parts of southeast Texas. You see up towards Vernon, Rapides, Avoyelles, northern parts of Beauregard, the northern half of Allen, Evangeline, St. Landry. You're not in this, so essentially you're looking at a less than 5% chance of seeing significant hail as we go through the day today. Probability of tornadoes, we're looking at about a 2 to 4% chance, essentially along and south of the I-10 corridor. North of there, it's going to be less than a 2% chance. So very low probability of a tornado. Not saying it's impossible, obviously 2 to 4% chance. There's your official probabilities. But it's not something that's going to be a huge concern today or tomorrow as well. In fact, the tornado threat is even lower for tomorrow. Excuse me. Sorry, I'm fighting a cold, so you have to bear with my coughing a little bit. Going into Thursday, this is actually the severe weather potential for Thursday. We continue to be in that marginal risk. And this is, again, mainly going to be for the possibility of damaging winds and large hail. But even that risk is very low. We're looking at about a 5 to 14% chance across pretty much the entire region. The probabilities for large hail is pretty much the exact same as well, 5 to 14%, pretty much across nearly the entire state of Louisiana, really. And then back into East Texas, you're kind of in, with the exceptions of kind of western Tyler County and western Hardin County, you're also in that 5 to 14% chance. Probability of tornado tomorrow, less than 2% across the board. So we're not expecting any kind of real tornado threat going into tomorrow. Even today, the tornado threat is minimal at best. Finally, taking a quick look at the forecast through the rest of the week and into the weekend. We are still going to be looking at some showers and thunderstorms around, it looks like, through the weekend, although not nearly as many as what we're seeing yesterday and today. We're looking at about a 30 to 50% chance of rain through the weekend. Temperatures are going to be nice, though, mid to upper 70s. Probably going to be a little on the cloudy side, and you'll be dodging those showers and thunderstorms. But it could be a lot worse. At least we're not going to be dealing with the kind of rain that we're dealing with yesterday and today. But as far as today and tomorrow goes, we're going to be looking at still very high rain chances pretty much both days. And we are going to be looking at a fairly significant amount of additional rainfall, especially closer to the coastline. I'm not going to go through all of these. I do have... I'll try to post these on our social media pages, but we are looking at significant flooding across area rivers. I'll just bounce through these while I kind of talk over the top of them here. We are still looking at all of that water that fell yesterday. You know, we looked at anywhere from 3 to 8 inches. All of that's now beginning to or already running off into area waterways. So a lot of our area rivers are now in flood at some level. This does not account, well, it attempts to account for, I should say, the additional rain that we see today and tomorrow, but it's not necessarily particularly accurate because we'd have to forecast exactly where that rain is going to fall. So we do our best to kind of estimate how much rain is going to be seen across an area, and then we have to determine from that how much rain is going to run off into the area rivers. We use that to create our forecast for these rivers. But it's not great, to be completely honest. These forecasts will almost certainly be revised either up or down, depending on exactly where the rain falls, both today and tomorrow. To get the latest updates on this, there'll actually be updates on these rivers here probably in the next 3 hours or so. They usually come out around 10 a.m. You can go to our website, weather.gov/Lake Charles, and then hit the rivers section for the latest, both with the current stages as well as the forecast. So that's what we have here this morning for you from the National Weather Service. Let me see if I can pull up I'm trying to pull up the radar here so we can take a quick look at what's going on across the area before I get into the questions. Give me just a minute. I've actually got to pull up the program here. I should have done this before, I know, but I was actually having some computer issues here while I was trying to get on the air. In the meantime, you can take a look at the forecast rainfall totals across the region that we are forecasting for the rest of the today. And like I mentioned, there is a sharp gradient here. In other words, we're going to be looking at significantly less rain. There it is. Significantly less rain the further north you go. So the majority of the rainfall here is going to be right along the coastline. And up through roughly about just to the north of I-10. And then you're going to see a significant drop-off in the rainfall totals as we get a little bit further to the north here. Give that just a second to load up here. There it is. So you can see the rainfall, as we were just talking about, right along the coast, essentially. I do think this is going to spread a little bit further inland as we go through the morning here. But you can see the last, say, 3, 4, 5 hours or so, this activity has been confined to kind of right along the coast. Cameron Parish has seen a lot of rain. Coastal portions of Vermilion Parish has seen a lot of rain. lower parts of St. Martin and St. Mary have seen a fair amount of rain. Fortunately, a lot of this activity has remained kind of offshore. All right, stop wiggling back and forth here. So that has actually saved some areas from a fair bit of additional flooding. You can see the green boxes there indicating where the current flood warnings are in effect. And I think this activity is going to kind of push inland as we go through the morning before kind of moving out. So I don't think it's going to stay offshore all morning. I think some of the stuff that's back here across over towards Galveston and those areas are eventually going to kind of lift inland. That's when we're going to start to see more rainfall here as we go through the kind of the mid-morning into the early afternoon hours. All right, let me see. Let me check and see if we do have any questions here while we're looking at the radar. Michael says low. Where'd you go, Michael? I pressed your thing and you went away. Come back, Michael. Low risk of tornadoes today, high risk of more rain, flooding, and lightning. That about sums it up. You could have saved me 15 minutes of talking here. I could have just said that. Chantal says, how much more are we going to get in the Topsy-Ragley area? We're already underwater. Well, like we were talking about, we are going to be looking at, let me pull the forecast rainfall amounts back up. You are going to be looking at potentially 2 to 4 additional inches. It's really going to depend on exactly when and how far inland that line of storms we're talking about gets. It's sitting right along the coast right now. Models are kind of split on how far inland that gets and how soon. If it comes in, a little bit earlier in the day and sticks around a little bit longer, you're going to be on the higher end of that, 3 to 4 additional inches. If it doesn't, if it sits closer to the coast, you may only be looking at another 1 to 2 inches. I think you're going to see some additional rain, and that is unfortunately going to make, if you're looking at flooding right now, that's only going to make the situation worse. But exactly how much is going to be highly dependent on exactly how that line moves through the morning. Cindy asks, how many more inches for New Iberia? You can see the graphic here. We're looking at anywhere between about 3 to, on the upper end, possibly 6 more inches for the New Iberia area. Kayla asks, how much more should Jasper, Texas expect today? Jasper, you're going to be most likely staying away from this line for the most part. I think there's going to be some individual storms that are going to form kind of inland and move up that way, but it's not going to amount to a whole lot. So we're really only looking at maybe 1/4 to 1/2 inch of rain expected in the Jasper area today. All right, so if you do have a question, I've actually reached the bottom of my questions list. Not a whole lot of questions here this morning. That's not a bad thing. But if you do have a question, feel free to throw it in there. I'll be happy to answer it here over the next few minutes. Let me go ahead and jump back to the radar here real quick. In the meantime, let's see if I can put this into motion, but it'll actually show a few scans rather than just wobble here. But you can see a lot of that activity, it's in a kind of a broken line right now, and most of it is offshore. You can see it moving in across coastal parts of Cameron. They've seen a lot of rain down there, but fortunately it's all marshland, so there's not a whole lot to flood. It's very difficult to get flooding in Cameron Parish just due to how much water and how much marsh there is down there. The water runs off into the marshes before it can really flood much of anything. So it's better to keep it down there, to be completely honest. That keeps everybody a little bit safer. Even those that are in Cameron, Johnson's Bayou, it's I'm not going to say it's impossible to flood because they flood during hurricanes, but that's more due to storm surge than actual rainfall. For the rest of the region, the biggest area at risk at the moment is going to be parts of South Central Louisiana, St. Martin Parish, St. Mary Parish, Iberia Parish. You've been seeing several of these kind of rounds of heavy rain moving through. There's another one actually getting ready to move in here just to the south of Franklin and getting into the Morgan City area. So that's something you're going to be dealing with, being obviously right along the coast. You're dealing with this activity that's moving inland. I do think this whole line is going to kind of push inland later on this morning, and that's where we're going to get the majority of whatever rainfall we're going to see at that point. Jeremy asks, which one of y'all kept sending those alerts last night? It's annoying. I'm sorry, Jeremy. Would you rather die? I don't want you to die. I'd much rather annoy you than have you get stuck in a storm or flooding. So I'm sorry. We're going to have to keep annoying you. You can always turn it off, I suppose. Cameron says, how much more for Washington Parish? We don't actually cover Washington Parish from our office. That's actually covered by the New Orleans Baton Rouge office. So I don't have specific details on how much more you can expect in that area. You'll have to contact that office. I'm not just saying, no, it's not my problem. I'm not answering your questions. It's because I truly don't know, because I've been focused on this area. So I haven't taken a look. I haven't done the forecast for that area. So I don't have some numbers for you. I'd give them to you if I had them, but I don't. All right, not seeing any more questions at the moment, so I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up for the time being, short and sweet, which is perfectly fine with me. If you do have a question that you think of once we get off of our briefing here, or if I missed it for some reason, I don't think I've missed any, but if I did, feel free to send us a direct message on Facebook. I'll be happy to answer your questions that way. You can also email me. My email address is on the screen there. It's my name with a dot in the middle, donald.jones@noaa.gov. I've answered quite a few questions that way over the last couple of days or so. I may be a little bit delayed in getting back with you that way because I've been working all night. I'm going to be heading out to get some sleep at some point, but I'll get back to you just as soon as I can. You can also always give us a call here at our office. We do have forecasters here. In fact, we're getting ready to get a new shift on here in just about 5 minutes. Area code 337-477-5285. And speak to a forecaster directly, and we can get your questions answered that way. You can also message us on X. You can message us on Instagram. So lots of ways to get in touch with us. If you do have any more questions, Chelsea's asking, will today's weather have severe potential? Yes, it will. It's going to be a low-end severe risk, but there is a severe risk like we were talking about. So this is the severe weather outlook. Let me go ahead and make that full screen so you actually see it and not looking at my face. A marginal risk through the day today. I think the biggest overall risk is going to be the potential for hail. The damaging wind threat and the tornado threat is, I'm not going to say it's zero, but it's very, very small. All right, back to my wrap-up presentation thing. All right, so again, if you do have a question that you think of after we're off the air here, feel free to send us a question through one of those methods. Keep in mind that it is going to be, we are potentially still looking at more flooding today, so you do want to remain weather aware through the day. Be prepared to take action if a warning is issued. If you do have to get out and travel today, the afternoon, late afternoon into the evening is probably going to be your better time frame, better than this morning. But the important thing to keep in mind, if you are going out, if you do encounter water on roadways, please don't drive through them. We have so many deaths related to people getting stranded in vehicles. At a minimum, you could potentially wind up ruining your vehicle, which has happened to people in this office before. But even more so, you're putting your life in danger. It's much better to either find another way or just wait rather than putting your life in danger, because people die that way. It happens all the time. That's why we do what we do here when talking about the flooding. That's why a lot of schools in the area have canceled today, because it is a risk. So don't put yourself in that situation. And even beyond that, if you do manage to make it through, you're potentially pushing waters into homes as well. So it's just a bad situation all around. You don't want to drive through water if you can at all avoid it. So there's my spiel for the morning. Everyone have a wonderful rest of your morning, rest of your day. Try to stay safe, stay dry, and we will talk to you again. We may do another one tomorrow. We'll see how that goes, depending on how things evolve through the rest of the day today. Hopefully not, but we'll talk to you again soon.